Yeah, exactly. And Steve says in court transcripts, though, that this is in retrospects one of the first times that he realized someone had definitely been in their home while they were away, but he didn't quite want to admit it yet. On another occasion, when Jessie was taking down her posters, so we're the same age, Ashley. You had posters in your bedroom of the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC or someone, I'm
100%.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah, same. This was 1998. I can picture this room. But so Jessie's 11 at this point, and she's taking down her posters to move them all around and like redo her room. And she takes down her posters, and on two separate walls, she notices multiple big hammer holes put in the walls behind the posters.
Mm-hmm.
They're on two separate walls, and behind both of those walls were crawl spaces.
Okay. Suspicious.
Yeah. Yeah, another time they came home and a window had been shattered. Another time they came home and someone had taken Steve's, like, those like home industrial, like the big staple guns for like reupholstering. He had one of those, and someone had like stapled all the way up their hand railing on their stairs because they had a 2-story house. They had ejected a ton of staples all over all the beds in the house, but specifically way more in Jessie's room and in Maddie's room. And there were a few staples in the walls, and the staple gun was missing. This is when Steve and Sheila are like, okay, this isn't just the kids, because they kind of brushed it off as they lived on a dead end cul-de-sac, and both of the girls' best friends lived in that cul-de-sac with them. So there was always this group of 5 or 6 little kids running around playing, ranging from ages of Maddie being the youngest at the time 7, now had just turned 8. So 8 all the way up to the age of 14 running around. And so like they brushed it off for longer than they should, thinking, oh, maybe it's the kids being little shits acting out. Like, there's enough kids. What are we going to do? We going to sit them down and question them? Good cop, bad cop? No. But when the staple gun went missing, when it's everywhere, when they come home, the window is broken, they're like, we got to get something on record just to make sure we're calling the police. So we're going to fast forward to November 3rd, 1998. And Maddie is home with Jessie and her grandma. Her mom, Sheila, was still at work, and her dad, Steve, was working a 12-hour shift. He was a manager at like a mechanic shop or something. But Maddie had done her chores, which was to take all the Halloween decorations out of the front yard and bring them in. There wasn't like a lot. It was like, oh, sweetie, bring the fake pumpkins in, and then she had to practice her piano for a half an hour. She had just finished doing this around 5 p.m., doing her chores, and then she started practice around 5 p.m. At around 5:30, Maddie finished her practice just as her mom came home from work. She immediately ran up to her mom and was like, Mommy, can I go outside? I want to go play. And Sheila was like, are you done with your chores? Did you do your piano? Like, let me get in the door before, give me 10 seconds, And her grandma is like, Maddie, give your mom a hug. Like, hold on, calm down. And I listened to the court, like the audio of the court trial, because this we'll get into it, but it was a relatively short trial, and we'll get into why and like how short. But so I listened to the full audio of it, and she tells this whole story, and she starts breaking down. She's like, had I known anything, I wouldn't have rushed her and like told her to be quiet and stuff. And I was like, ow, just ow.
So sad.
But yeah, but so Maddie was like, yeah, I did all my chores. I did my piano. She gives her mom a big hug, and her mom's like, okay, well, Jesse's not done. Is Jessie done? Jessie's not done with her stuff. So her mom lets her go out and play, not alone, but actually with one of the other neighbor kids, with the expectation that Jessie will be out in like a few minutes to like maybe a half an hour at most when she's done with her piano practice. So Maddie went down to Larry Grisham's house, which was another neighbor, with one of the other neighbor kids who was unnamed, to chip some golf balls. That's a quote, chip some golf balls. I don't actually know what chipping. Casey and I, golf weirdly comes up on this podcast a lot, and Casey usually fills me in on the golf terminology. Can you?
I don't golf at all. My
I
boyfriend
assume it just
golfs, and
means
he would
to
probably be able to say it. I think chipping is just like,
just hitting it. Yeah, that's what I
I
think from
think.
context clues, but
Hopefully
Casey, you're
no golf.
missed.
I hope no golf professionals listen to this and they're like, no, that's obviously when you're about to hit it into the hole. Like, God. Like, not putting, there's teeing off. Like, what's a chip? I don't know.
I know what poker chips are. That's all I got. Wood chips.
So if anyone wants to tell us what chipping a golf ball is, feel free.
We probably could have Googled it, but this was funnier. But let's talk about Larry Grisham for a second. So Larry Grisham, because Larry Grisham is an adult neighbor and the kids are playing with an adult neighbor. That's kind of weird, was everybody's initial thought. It's going to be pretty much everybody's initial thought if you've listened to pretty much any other podcast on this, but unless you've listened to an interview with Jessica Clifton, the sister, or any of the other family members who immediately clarify, you're just going to hear the judgy other podcasts. I'm so sorry to all the other podcasts, but I think you're really judgy on this. I didn't do enough research. Larry Grisham was a 45-year-old neighbor that lived on the cul-de-sac. He lived with his elderly mom as her live-in caretaker. And he would often help the parents on the cul-de-sac watch the group of like 5 or 6 kids that was always out playing, because it's a dead-end street on a dead-end cul-de-sac. It's all families. It's like 7 or 8 houses. Every single person knew each other. Jessica Clifton and her parents still live there in that house. And Larry Grisham's mom lived in one of the houses, and he had moved in to help take care of her because she was so sick. And when he was out doing yard work or working on the house, he was friends with the parents and would help keep an eye on the kids. So there was an adult set of eyes on the kids. It wasn't just like, hey, this weird 45-year-old likes to play with 8-year-olds, which is literally what I heard verbatim on another podcast while doing research for this. And I was like, that's not what happened. So it wasn't weird. The parents knew about this. It was very helpful, you know. And honest to God, my parents growing up, we shared a driveway with another house, and it was a rental. And like my parents, we knew the owners of the rental, and my parents would like go make friends with the long-term renters that would move in, because they would only rent to long-term renters. And they'd be like, hey, if the kids are outside, because we had like a really, really long, like 1.5 mile long driveway on a ranch, and we shared the end of our driveway, part of the land. It was they didn't have road entrance on their land, so my parents sold them part of our entrance so that they could, you know,
Well, that was
get
nice
to
of him.
their house. But they'd be like, hey, if the kids are outside, can you just like keep an eye? Like, that's not weird to me. And I know, I guess, in context of like 2022, everybody's like, oh, that's so strange. But like, this was 1998. It was normal. The 90s were a much nicer time. In retrospect, a lot of people died in the 90s that could have been avoided, but you know, let's look at it through some rose-colored glasses, or maybe a red unicorn lamp, which is what I'm doing.
It was a
I'm
much
gonna
more
post.
relaxed time.
I'm gonna have to take, like, I feel so zen. This feels so zen, but I'm gonna have to take a selfie of this and like
You're gonna have
post
to, so
it.
that way people understand the vibe
People
that is
people
emanating
have to
from this.
understand this vibe. So Maddie and the other kids are there chipping golf balls with Larry, and Larry's like, y'all, I do not have any more golf balls. If you want to keep chipping golf balls, that's fine. Like, you can come back. But like, you gotta go get some balls. Because Maddie runs back to her house and is like, Mom, where's that blue golf ball that she had? And her mom's like, so this part I got again from listening to the trial. I'm paraphrasing Maddie's mom's testimony here. Maddie runs back to her house and is like, Mom, where's the blue golf ball we had? And her mom's like in the middle of cooking dinner and doing stuff. And it's like, Maddie, I don't know, sweetheart. I'm literally cooking dinner. I'm in the middle of stuff. I'm trying to go for a walk myself, because she like made it a habit to go for a walk every night, which I felt really attacked by. I was like, thank you, court transcripts, for calling me out and telling me something I should be doing myself. Yeah, okay. I felt really attacked. I was like, damn, I should do that too. So she's like, Maddie, I don't know, sweetheart. I can't help you find it right now. I'm in the middle of making dinner. But, you know, I bet if you go out in front of the house, you can find some, because they had, you guys have big ditches there and you farmland. You know how in the summer, if they don't weed whack inside the ditches, the long pond grass gets like really, really tall, and like they call it like sort of border grass, that it's not your yard, it's the edge border, and it's like it gets really tall. In like farmland, or like if you back up to grassland, or if you've ever been in a housing community that's like a new build that doesn't have anything else around it, a lot of them are going to have this border grass as a demarcation of the edge of properties. And so they had this big border grass that ran along the edge of the yard all around the cul-de-sac, as you know, and the kids would hit golf balls into there, so they weren't hitting them into the road or hitting them anywhere dangerous, like at cars or people or houses, you know. And so Maddie's mom was like, well, go look in the border grass in front of the house. I'm sure you'll find a ton of golf balls in there, baby. And just let me finish dinner. And Maddie's like, okay, and gives her mom a hug and goes outside. And this is the last time Maddie's mom ever talks to her, and the last time Maddie's mom ever sees her is outside the house looking for border grass, looking in the border grass for golf balls.
I have chills.
At around 6:20 p.m., Sheila calls the girls in for dinner, you know, as they did at that time. This is totally normal to us. Everybody, we're 90s kids.
You ring the dinner bell, they run in.
My mom literally had a dinner bell.
No,
Literally.
she didn't.
Yes, she did. I'm so serious. I grew up on a ranch, like a farm, and
I
like,
don't mean to laugh just because it is
literally,
your experience. I'm laughing just because it's so cinematic. Like,
oh
you don't ever
no,
think about that
she
actually
was
happening
so
to
dramatic
people,
about
but
it.
it did.
Oh, it did. It did.
Did she have
We
an
also
apron on
used
too?
to. let me set the scene for you.
I'm ready.
My dad and my mom were 19